Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today. This webinar is going to be Search Ads 101, Turn Search Traffic into Donations. And I'm joined today by my colleague Lucas Froese, as well as our special guests from Google. We have Ben Wise and Jenny Vincent. My name is Jen Newcomb Trinidad, and I'm with the marketing team at CanadaHelps. And sorry for not being on webcam. I have pandemic hair, and I'm not quite ready to show it to the world yet. But yes, thank you for being with us today. This webinar is going to go through how to use a Google Ad Grant to create search ads that can turn your search traffic, that can be used to bring search traffic to your website, and from there turn that search traffic into donors. So we've got a two-party here. The folks from Google, Ben and Jenny, will talk about the Google Ad Grants and the search ads part, and Lucas Froese, CanadaHelps, will talk about best practices for what to do with your website and to get donations on them. So we'll jump into it in a few moments. Before we do, just want to go through a quick intro and some housekeeping slides. So our team at CanadaHelps is grateful to have this opportunity to meet and work on many Indigenous homelands across Canada. As settlers on these lands, we acknowledge that our Vancouver offices are located on the unceded territory of the Coast Salish people. Our Montreal offices are located on Kanien'kehá:ka or Mohawk territory, and the land on which we operate and are broadcasting from today in Toronto is the traditional territory of the Wendat, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. And we want to express our respect for the territories we reside in and honor the diverse Indigenous peoples who have lived and worked on this land historically and presently. The staff and leadership at CanadaHelps are committed to being active participants in reconciliation, and we are committed to continuing to amplify Indigenous voices and learning how our work affects Indigenous peoples. That's just a little bit of an acknowledgement there. And for those of you who are new to CanadaHelps, thank you for joining us today. I'm just going to go through what we do here. We build innovative technology that empowers all charities to easily fundraise online, as well as connect all Canadians to give to the charities and causes they care about. For charities, we offer open access to our full suite of affordable online giving tools with full donor information, and we also provide educational resources like this webinar so you can better understand your donors and steward them along their journey. And for your donors, we have offered a convenient, safe, and trusted destination for donating to and fundraising for all registered Canadian charities for the past 20 years. And to date, almost 3 million Canadians have donated over $1.6 billion to CanadaHelps, and more than 24,000 charities across Canada rely on CanadaHelps fundraising tools to build capacity. So that's just a little bit about us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jen. As I should mention, my name is Ben Wise. I am from Google. I've been there for about 10 years now. I work on one of the many ad sales teams that are based in Toronto. And over the last year and a half to 2 years, I've had the privilege, along with Jenny and a couple others across our various offices, of helping launch an accelerator program within the Google for Nonprofits organization. So Google for Nonprofits offers a number of different tools and services for free to charities globally. And the purpose of our accelerator program is really to help bring those to nonprofits across Canada. So that's both getting more organizations signed up to access these tools, and then once you're signed up and on the platforms, helping you use them and get more value for your organization, and all for free. And that's really what brought us here today. We're going to be going through the Ad Grants program, and we hope that by the end of this, you will be inspired, motivated to go and sign up to the program if you haven't already done so. And if you are, that you'll be a little more enabled with the expertise to get a little more value out of that. So what exactly are we going to cover? First, I'm going to give you a quick introduction to the Ad Grants program and what is digital marketing and how does search fit into it, particularly with a view of how it fits into the donor journey. Then I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Jenny, who will go into Google search and how to run campaigns with a little more detail. Then Lucas from CanadaHelps will walk through the custom donation forms from CanadaHelps and how those can integrate with your Google search tracking. Then back to Jenny to help you understand how to actually sign up for the ad grants. I'll close out with a few additional resources to help you move forward from today, and then we'll open it up for questions. And as Jenny mentioned, please drop them in to the webinar link. So what is ad grants and what is digital advertising at a very high level? So to start, it's important to understand kind of the ecosystem that we're working in. When you look around the world, there are over 4 billion internet users worldwide. And of those 4 billion people, they are regularly connecting online with more than 8 billion connected devices. Think about yourself and your own behavior. If I look at everything I can see right now, I've got my laptop connected, I've got my phone connected, my printer right there is connected, I've got a smart speaker over there connected, so I've got 4 just in this room, and that's not even counting the rest of this house. And I know for myself and for most people that the entry point to the internet really is with search. It is, for most people, the first and most important touch point. We know that in a given day, there are over 5.5 billion searches on Google. These are from people all over the world searching for anything from the important, like, how do I get my COVID vaccine, or what are the right precautions, to the mundane. I think last night I was searching for how to mix a very specific shade of green colored paint, and everything in between. Now, we know that that's a key aspect of how users interact online, and that is very true also when we think about a user's journey in making donations. So this data is now a little bit older, but we know that the rate of donations that are happening online is growing very rapidly. And this was before the pandemic. We know that since then it's only accelerated. One charity that I spoke to recently told me that over 90% of their donations are now coming in online, and it used to be in the 60s. That's nearly their entire donation base is coming through the internet. And for so many of those donors, Google search is the very first touch point they have. It is one of the most important channels. So how can you start to leverage this for your marketing campaigns? Back one. There we go. Thank you. So what is the Ad Grants program? Essentially, Google will give any nonprofit or any charity in the world, anywhere across Canada, $10,000 of free marketing spend every single month. So over $100,000 a year. If you sign up, as long as you're a registered charity, you should qualify. You'll go through a process of getting on board, and we'll talk through what that looks like a little bit later. And then you have this huge 6-figure budget every year to start running ads to drive the behaviors that you want. Now, we know for most charities, one of the most important behaviors is obviously getting people to donate, finding people who are interested in your cause, and converting them to paid donors for your organization to help fund your activities in your communities. But it also extends beyond that. There's a lot of other activities that we want people to go through. If we jump to the next slide here. You can think about any action or behavior that you want someone to do that supports your charity beyond just donations. Google search is just a tremendously powerful way to help you achieve that goal. Whether you want people to register for an event like this one, if you want someone to sign a petition or partake in some advocacy work you're doing, if you want to raise awareness through content, whether that's a newsletter, a video, a blog post, any behavior, Google search can be an extremely powerful way to help you get that message in front of people and drive the behavior you're looking for. So how has this program developed over the years? Since launching the Google Ad Grants program, Google has given away more than $10 billion, billion with a B, of free marketing spend, which is absolutely huge. That's across over 100,000 nonprofits around the world in countries that span the entire globe. So if I take a look at just this webinar today, looking at the number of people who are registered, if we say half of the people that are registered go and now sign up, and of those half, they only use half of the money that's available to them, that would result in $30 million every year being spent on marketing for Canadian charities, which has an absolutely huge impact on your organizations, the people that you serve, and the communities that we live in. So we really hope that that's what the outcome that comes from today. And with that, I will pass it over to Jenny, who will go into a little more detail of how Google search works and how you can start running some campaigns.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. Hi, everyone. Jenny, excited to be here. As Ben mentioned, search is massive, and it's a first step in the donor journey. What I'm going to chat through are the basics of Google search and then maximizing impact of your Google Ad Grants account. The basics of search might be a bit repetitive for some of you, but I really did want to start at the baseline and make sure we're all on the same page. So when you turn to google.ca, .com, .fr, and you type something in the search box, what comes back are paid results and organic results. Paid results live in the top few slots. It's a headline, a description, a link to a website, and they're paid for when they're clicked on. So advertisers are paying to be in those slots and have users click and land on their website. This is typically known as SEM or search engine marketing. Underneath the paid slots are the organic results. Organic results are the same headline, description, link to a website, but they're not paid for. So what Google does is we crawl websites, and through an algorithm, we surface the most relevant websites for that user's search query in the organic section. This is often referred to as SEO or search engine optimization. If we look at an example of this, pretend somebody went to Google and typed in donate old coats. You'll see the first few are advertisers, so they're paid positions, and underneath are the organic results. How you can tell they're ads is based on that little ad on the left-hand side of the text. This is an older screenshot. This is approved from the Google Grants team. It's a bit older. If you go to Google right now, the ad little box is actually in black, not green. So it looks slightly different, but you can distinguish paid results from organic based on that. I'm going to focus on ads going forward. So the paid positions are where you're actually going to serve through Google Ad Grants. As Ben mentioned, you get 10,000 USD per month to actually serve in those top slots and be part of the auctions to advertise there. What do you actually advertise? This is the basics of an ad. So there's a headline, a description, and something we call extensions. Extensions are basically additional information that you can add on to your advertisement to hopefully entice the user to click to your website and take whatever action you've deemed as important. Last thing I'll say on the basics before I get into more of the meat is that every single ad and query is based on an auction. So you can't just pay to be in that top slot. What Google wants to do is serve relevant advertisements to the user, so obviously they get relevant information for what they're looking for. So Google balances bidding as well as ad relevancy. So we look at ad relevancy, click-through rate, landing page relevancy, and what that means is that better ads are often cheaper. So you really want to focus on optimizing your ad, your landing page, and what you're wanting the user to do, because that will help you extend that 10,000 USD per month. Perfect. Okay, moving on to maximizing impact. At the end of the presentation, or the second last section, I'm going to chat through how you actually register for a Google Ad Grants account. But let's pretend you have a Google Ad Grants account already, or you've now registered for one. We have 5 main steps that we typically recommend to be successful with ad grants. So the first is defining your goals. Second is setting up tracking. Third is showing relevant ads. Fourth is leaning into smart bidding. And then fifth is learning and improving. So the first step that we encourage everyone to do is define your goal. When somebody views your ad, clicks on it, lands on your website, what do you then want them to do? You don't want to bombard the user with a ton of options. You want to be pretty clear what your conversion point is on your website. Is it getting a donation? Is it getting more volunteers? Is it somebody attending an event when we can eventually do those again? You want to have about 3 to 5 conversion points that you've deemed as important on your website and where you're directing the user to actually go. I also encourage you to go through the conversion on your side. So land on your website, see the steps that are necessary to actually take that conversion point, and know in your mind that this is what you're optimizing for, both on the ad side, the website experience side, and the traffic you drive. So you've decided on your conversion points. The second tip we have is to set up tracking. So we encourage everybody to use Google Analytics. It's a free tool that allows you to track activity on your website. It's phenomenal. It allows you to see who's coming to your website. So you can see demo breakdown, geo breakdown. It allows you to see what they're doing on your site. So are they landing on your site and bouncing immediately? Are they landing on your site, going through the funnel, taking that conversion that you deem as important? Or are they getting stuck on a page that's very interesting? You can kind of dive into a bunch of different activity that's happening within your site. Third thing you can do is you can see where they're coming from. So are they coming from search ads? Are they coming from social ads? Are they coming directly to your site? And then the last is you can assign a conversion value. So if you have donations or you assign a value to a certain conversion, you can track that and you can figure out who are your highest value customers and how do you target more of those. Google Analytics could be a webinar on its own. So what I've done here is I've linked our e-learning course that's external that everybody could take. If you click on that link, it'll bring you to Google Analytics Academy, where there's 4 courses, all the way from beginner to expert level. And you can dive into that and figure out, okay, how do I set up Google Analytics and how do I dive into the data to analyze who my highest value consumers actually are. Okay, so you have set out your goals on your website, you've attached tracking, now you want to drive traffic to your website. This is really where the Google Ad Grants comes in. So you want to create relevant ads and drive that surf traffic to your site. The first thing I want to say is that I've linked another e-learning course here. So at the top, it's called Learn the Fundamentals of Google Ad Search. It's a phenomenal course, and whoever in your organization is going to run your Google Ad Grants account, I highly recommend they take this. It's 2.5 hours, so it can sound a bit daunting, but it's amazing. I actually took this when I interviewed for Google because I had no idea about search or Google Ads or anything, and it really helped me through the interview process and then kickstart obviously working at Google. So this course will go quite in depth. What I'm going to do over the next few slides is touch super high level how you can think about creating relevant ads. To start, for creating relevant ads, you want to think about your keywords. Let's go back to that donate old coats example. Somebody types in donate old coats. How does Google decide which ads to show? It depends on the keywords that the advertiser has defined within their Google Ads account. So if we look at that onewarmcoat.org, they may have coat donation, donate old coats, donate used coats as keywords that they've defined within their Google Ads account that they want to advertise on. This signals to Google that we have relevant content, we want to be part of the auction, and we want to show in those top few slots. So your first step is determining what keywords are related to your organization and will be relevant for the user to actually have your ads serve on. How do you define your keywords? Best place to start is your website. So look at your website, look at the structure. Do you have maybe 3 different pieces? So do you have volunteering, donating, events? Think from a consumer lens, what are queries that somebody would be typing into Google to actually land on the site? So brainstorm maybe top 10 different queries. Whatever you want to do, it doesn't have to be too robust. You can then take those keywords and you can pop them into what we call Keyword Planner. So Keyword Planner lives within the Google Ads UI. It's under Tools, so there'll be a little wrench icon. Click on it, click on Keyword Planner, and then you can discover new keywords and get search volumes and forecasts. So you can take those brainstorm keywords, you can pop them into the Discover New Keywords, and what Google will do is actually surface related keywords. So it'll allow you to build out that list of keywords that are related to those initial ones you've built. You can then take that robust list, you can pop it over into the Get Search Volume and Forecasts, and you can see at what volume are those keywords searched for. So what volume should you be planning for on the budget side, on the bid side, to actually have the highest impact. Okay, so you now have your set of keywords that you're thinking of using. Now it's time to talk about campaign structure. What you want to do is you want to group keywords in tightly themed groups. So again, you might have events, you might have volunteering, you might have donations. You want to separate the keywords into those different groups or buckets, and we call these ad groups. You then create ads within the ad groups, and those ads will serve on any of those keywords that you've defined within that group. Campaigns are the next level up, so you can have multiple campaigns within an account. Typically what we see is that nonprofits have one campaign with a bunch of ad groups underneath. Completely up to you how you structure this, but just wanted to give you a baseline of what is typical and possibly how you could set it up. Okay, so you have your keywords, you have your campaign structure, your ad group structure in mind. Now you actually have to create your ads. So I mentioned before, there's the headline, there's a description, and there's extensions. Within Google Ads, it's going to give you the slots to actually input the text for the headline, description, website link, extensions. 2 things that we recommend. 1, you want to include keywords that you've defined as important in your headlines and in your description. This is going to signal to Google that when people type in those keywords in their query, that your ad is relevant. The other recommendation is to create as many extensions as possible. So I mentioned that extensions are additional information that you can add on to your advertisement. So you can create things like location extensions with your location, call extensions if you have a phone number, dynamic site links, so different site links to actually link out to different pages within your site. Google will give you a bunch of options, and you want to fill as many of these as possible. So Google will actually determine which extensions we're going to use for different ad slots based on the likelihood of somebody to then click through to your website. So you want to give us a ton of different information, as much as possible, so that then we can optimize and create the best ad to send somebody to your site. So I mentioned that every single result is based on an auction. Relevancy is important. Build relevancy through appropriate keywords, appropriate campaign structure, and appropriate ad text. The other thing that's important is bidding. This is our fourth recommendation to leverage smart bidding. So back in the day, prior to me, I guess, even coming to Google, bidding used to be pretty simple. So you would define your keywords and you would say, okay, I'm willing to spend $2 on this keyword for somebody to click on my website, on my ad and link out to my website. Now the ecosystem is quite a bit more complex. So there's a ton more signals. We have device signals, interest signals, location, language, etc. And all of these signals come into play when you're setting a bid. This is why we recommend smart bidding. So smart bidding utilizes machine learning to automatically set the best bid for each and every auction based on all of those signals, which is something that obviously a human on the manual side could not do. For nonprofits, charities, what I typically recommend is maximize conversions as the smart bidding strategy that you leverage in Google Ads. Maximize conversions, how it works is you'll set your budget, which is going to be 10K USD per month. You'll say, this is my conversion point, what I've deemed important. Here are my ads, my campaigns, and the machine will actually then get you as many conversions as possible within that set budget. So important when you're building your campaigns, defining your bid strategy, think about using maximize conversions. Okay, so first four, we're all around kind of building. The next part is learning and improving. We know that searches change constantly, consumer habits change constantly, so we don't just want to set and forget our accounts. We want to be constantly learning and improving. The best tool, I think, to learn and improve is something called Optimization Score. So if you're within Google Ads, there's a tab called Recommendations. You click on that, and Google will actually give you a score from 0 to 100 of how well your account, your campaigns, your ads are set up to perform. It's awesome because it's real time. So you might be 65 one week, you might be 63 the next because consumer habits have actually changed. And within that tab, it'll give you recommendations that you can implement, usually through one click, to improve the campaign performance. This used to only be available to our side. So rewind like 2 years ago, I could see this. I would take the recommendations, I would give it to my advertising partners, and then Google made this external facing. Something I highly, highly recommend you go into weekly, bi-weekly, and actually implement some of the recommendations. Recommendations span from keywords, bids and budgets, targeting, a bunch of different ones that you can implement from the UI directly. Another area that's important to constantly think about, this will be surfaced in optimization scores, but you might want to do a bit more digging on your side, is improving keywords. We actually saw this come up as a question in the pre-questions that came in. So you do want to be expanding and improving your keywords as user searches change throughout time. So different ways that you can think about improving your keywords. You can lean into Google Analytics, so you can actually see different paths of search terms, so which search terms are leading to people landing on your site, and you can add additional keywords from there if necessary. Optimization Score, again, will actually surface some recommendations. There's something called Search Terms Report. So if you go, again, within Google Ads, you'll find this on the left-hand navigation bar, and it will tell you how your different keywords are performing and maybe some additional ones to add on. And then the final is Google Trends. So not sure how many of you have heard of this before, but Google Trends is basically Google's external source that shows how the world is searching. You can literally type Google Trends into Google, and it's the first link that comes up. And it's a really cool dashboard that allows you to see what's trending, what's rising in different areas and different keywords that you set. The final thought on improvement is mobile optimization. So I've linked here something called Test My Site Tool. It's a tool Google built a few years ago where you can input your URL. It'll analyze your site and spit out how fast your site is and improvements to increase site speed. We know that site speed is extremely important. Users are impatient. They're used to like Google speed. So when they land on your website, they expect to get to that conversion point quite seamlessly and as easy as possible. So really recommend looking into this tool and then hopefully actioning on some of the recommendations that are given. Speaking of your site, oh, never mind, I added in the slide. Let me sum up. So the 5 main steps to successfully use ad grants, we say, are defining your goals, so setting those 3 to 5 conversion points, set up tracking, so think about leveraging free Google Analytics, show relevant ads, so think about your keywords, think about your campaign structure, think about how you actually build the ad text and use extensions, lean into smart bidding, really use max conversions, and then learn and improve. So that is my section on maximizing impact with ad grants specifically. And now I'm going to pass it over to Lucas. That's why I said speaking of websites, because he's going to chat through custom donation forms.
Thanks, Jenny, and thanks, Ben. That is great. I've learned a lot already in the half hour we've been together. So I'm sure you've provided a lot of value to our charity partners. So that's awesome. Hi, Lucas. I know like Jen had mentioned before, she didn't show her screen because of COVID hair. Well, this is a lot of COVID hair going on, being in Toronto on our third lockdown. So let's get to it, though. That's all we want to talk about. So we've got, as Ben had mentioned, and as we've talked about CanadaHelps, it's kind of like that donor journey. So as Ben had said, starting that Google search is that first place to seeing your ad, to clicking on it, and now getting onto your website. Okay, and with that website, our donation form. So we want to make sure that our websites are mobile optimized, that they're easy to use, that we have a donate button, and that donor can successfully complete that donation, okay? Because ultimately that is the end goal. Or if you want them to volunteer or interact with your charity in any other ways. So when we talk about website, we've got the 3 threes. So it's 3 seconds, 30 seconds, and 3 minutes. So the first one, 3 seconds. So once we've landed on your website, right, we got to engage those donors right away. So number one, you have an easy to read message. So who are you and what do you do? And I know Jenny kind of talked about that with some of the ads, but once we've clicked on that and we've landed on your website, right, we can't have that donor be confused. They got to know right away, who are you, what are you doing, and ultimately, am I in the right place? Okay. If you can have a compelling video or photo right at the top, that'd be great. To really engage that donor. Okay. So after those 3 seconds, we got 30 seconds to retain them. Okay. So we can have things like bulleted lists, highlight important content near the top and on that home page of your website, and then really clear call to actions. And what we mean by call to actions are your donate buttons or your volunteer options or signing up for a newsletter, any sort of, usually they're buttons that signal a call. So I'm on your website and I'm seeing all the amazing work that you do. Is there a donate button that I can see right away and then I can click on? Okay, that's a call to action. So making sure that those things are clear. Okay. After we've had that 30 seconds where we're engaging them, we've got 3 minutes now to convert them into a donor. So number one, we have to establish the need your charity answers and the impact that your charity makes. So I'm on your website, I know what you do. What problems are you trying to solve, or the issues that you're looking to solve? Okay, and then what impact are you making? This can be on your website or on your donation form, which we can get into. But if I'm going to make a $100 donation to you today, or maybe sign up for a monthly gift, what does that impact do? So if I'm a food bank, I'm saying, hey, if you make a $100 donation today, you're going to provide 3 meals for individuals, or something like that, right? An impact statement, so I know exactly what my donation will do, that impact that I'm going to have. Okay, so some other recommendations too for the homepage on your website. So 70% of that content should be for new supporters. So when you're creating that website, have that in mind. If a new supporter lands on there, 70% of that should be to engage with them. 20% for existing supporters, and then 10% for your volunteers. Okay, sort of as a template for you when designing that site. And remember, clear CTAs, so our clear call to actions. Can I donate? Can I volunteer? Can I get involved right away? Okay, the last thing you want to do is put in all that work getting people to interact with Google and your ad grants, and then on your website, and then they have to search for a donate button. Make it easy. Okay, awesome stuff. And again, when we talk about clear call to actions. If you want the next slide there, Jenny. So we just have to make sure that they're easy, powerful, direct, and visible right on your website, okay? And again, they can be donate, newsletters, or other ways to get involved with your charity, okay? Also on our websites, we want to make sure, if we can, that we have a scrolling header. And generally what that means, if I'm on your website, no matter what page that I go onto on your website, I can always see that call to action, so that donate button. And when I scroll down on your page, the header at the top follows me around, okay? That always makes me have one click away from making a donation. And other things to keep in mind, if it's an accented color, that's great. And you want those, especially when we talk about donations, we want to take them to an embedded donation form. Okay, we don't want to have a donor click donate and then it takes them to another page where they have to make an additional click. We want one click right to an embedded donation form, so meaning a form that lives directly onto your website. And we want to make sure that that is mobile optimized and that we're removing barriers to those donations. So when I'm clicking that, I'm not getting distracted by maybe other things on the page, right? I see that form right away, and then I can go ahead and complete that donation. Okay, so some things to consider for our website basics and our donation form. So for all of you that are using CanadaHelps, when you go into your CanadaHelps account, there's that donation form tab that we can use to create our donation form. So number one, making sure we've got a donate button. Number two, creating our donation form, so we can create that in our CanadaHelps account, making sure that we're matching the colors and the branding on our website. And then number three, when you see at the bottom there, the super awesome donation form, we're taking that embed code. You can see that there. We're pasting that on our website, so our donation form is embedded directly onto our website. If for some reason your website is not secure or it's not mobile optimized, you can link it to your website, but ideally we want to make sure that our websites are mobile optimized, they are secure, and then we can embed our donation forms on there directly. Okay. Another thing, Jenny had mentioned it before, and for some of you that I've spoken with, I'm always trying to advocate it. Google Analytics, please use it, get it, it's free. As Jenny mentioned, you can use it on your website, but on the CanadaHelps donation forms, you can attach your Google Analytics to that donation form. So all the things that you can track on a website, we can actually track those conversion rates specifically onto our donation forms as well. So please make sure that that you do that. Okay. As well, when we talk about donation forms, we want to make sure that we're increasing our giving opportunities as well. So on the next slide there, when we look at our different ways, we want to have different options for our donors to give as well. Okay, so we've talked about optimizing the website, having a clear donate button. It goes to our embedded donation form, as you see there, making sure that's embedded. But on the right-hand side, we can engage with different ways for our donors to give, right? So do they want to make a gift in honor or in memory of somebody? Do they want to make a gift of stocks or mutual funds, or become a monthly donor? Okay, we can have those different opportunities to give, those ways to give, and we can create different donation forms for those asks as well. Okay, so whatever, you know, when we're getting them onto our website, some of them are going to want to make a donation right away, but some of them might have the intention to become a monthly donor or stock gifts. We want to make sure that on our website, we're giving donors that option and we're tailoring it to them. Okay, so I know at CanadaHelps we talk a lot about the donor journey. So I know Jenny and Ben are touching on using Google, but when we land on our website, we want to make sure it's easy to donate, which then goes into a donor management system or a stewardship plan that you have. So there's a lot of things involved in that donor process. We want to make sure that ultimately for donors, we're making it easy to do. Okay. With that, I'll hand it back off to Jenny.
Perfect. Thanks, Lucas. So we wanted to have a bit more of the content at the beginning, things to maximize impact, your custom donation forms, and then we wanted to wrap with how you actually get started with ad grants, and then Ben's going to walk us through some additional resources. So what I've done here is I've linked a quick 5-minute video that reviews how you apply for Google for Nonprofits and activate your Google Ad Grants account. The process, if you had tried a bit ago, was a bit more complex. It before took about 2 to 3 weeks to actually get approved. The US team has really simplified this. Now I see nonprofits getting approved within the week and getting their ad grants account. So the first step is to go to google.com/nonprofits, click Get Started, and then it'll go through the process of registering for that initial Google for Nonprofits account. We do require a third-party validation from our partner TechSoup, so that's going to be the first step you're directed to go to TechSoup's site and validate your nonprofit. Once you have that, you'll be registered for Google for Nonprofits. You can return back to the login, and then you can activate your ad grant side. On the ad grant side, you have to fill out an eligibility form that then our US team will review, and they'll say, okay, great, you're now eligible for Google Ad Grants, and here's your account with the 10,000 USD per month spend limit attached to it. What that looks like in practice is you go into your approved Google for Nonprofits account, you click on the Google Ad Grants section, and then it's going to show you the next page. It's called nonprofit name, whatever your name is, as well as the activation steps. That's where you're going to find the eligibility form that you'll fill in, providing some additional details on your nonprofit. And that is what the US team reviews, approves, and then will give you access to your ad grants account. This is the very first view you'll see of Google Ads when you actually are approved. So you can come in here, and that's where you start generating your campaigns, your ad groups, your actual advertisements, and your keywords, and you build everything within the Google Ads UI. That video on my very first slide is the best thing. It's only 5 minutes. You can watch it over and over, and you can go through the different steps to actually apply for ad grants. I should call out that Google also offers access to Google Workspace, so Docs, Gmail, those tools for free for nonprofits through Google for Nonprofits. So this webinar was all focused on ad grants, but we do also have the whole Workspace side that you can register and get approved for. And that is it. Over to Ben, who may be having some audio difficulties.
Hopefully it's working now without the earphones. All right. Just showing off my version of pandemic haircut. Thank you, Jenny and Lucas. Now, well, I'll be honest, I'm not a search specialist. I've learned a ton from Jenny here. But also, I'm sure I'm not the only person who's feeling a little bit overwhelmed. There's been a ton of content. And for some of us, myself included, a lot of this is new. So we want to make sure we're leaving you with a whole bunch of extra resources so that if you do want to get in there, and hopefully you do, you know where to turn to for help, and we're going to give you a bunch of options. So the first one here is the existing ad grants help community, and we'll share the link with this as part of the deck. But as I mentioned earlier, there are over 100,000 nonprofits that use Google Grants, and the Community Help Center is very active, very vibrant, and you'll find a ton of useful resources and answers to all sorts of questions and challenges you may be having. The next one here is the Google for Nonprofits team YouTube channel. And you know, Jenny mentioned one of the videos earlier. This channel has a ton of really helpful video content that is very easy and digestible. You absolutely do not need to be an expert. They're individual videos for pretty much any topic you might be wanting to learn more about, whether it's creating your first campaign, how do you do ad groups, how to find different keywords, Google Trends, how to optimize your campaigns, all those different things that Jenny went through in the past 45 minutes. They each have a kind of detailed video to really help you get into that. More locally, specific to Canada, as part of the Accelerator program that Jenny and I and a few others are working on, one of the big things that we do is connecting charities who are using these services with Google employees in Canada who have volunteered to help charities across the country. So we kind of bucket all of this into 3 different groups. If you're brand new and looking to onboard onto Google Nonprofits, you can get help for that. You can get volunteers to help you perform account audits in Google Ad Grants. So get a search specialist to help kind of go into your account and provide you some recommendations on how to get more value. And then, not the topic of today, but as Jenny mentioned, we do offer all of Google Workspace for free, and we're offering one-to-one consults with experts, expert Google volunteers as well. There's a link to a sign-up form here. If you do that within a few weeks, hopefully you should hear from volunteers reaching out. Another way to access potential volunteers is through a program that we call the Nonprofit Marketing Immersion. Try to say that 3 times fast. Essentially what this does is for any nonprofit who's on ad grants can get connected to groups of university and college students with a professor or instructor overseeing the work, and they will essentially do kind of a similar account audit, help you optimize your campaigns and get more out of the platform. It's a great way to get some free volunteer help for you as a charity. It's also a really great opportunity for young students to get some hands-on experience with digital marketing. So we really do see this as a win-win, and we're hoping to see more charities and students make use of this great program. And next, we have just a quick recap here. I'm not going to go through every one of these, but we put all of the key links and resources for you on this site, or on this one slide. The slide will be sent out to everyone that's registered, so you'll have this as a follow-up. And I think that brings us to the end. Hopefully people, as I said right from the beginning, are inspired and motivated to go sign up for the program, get in there, start using it, reach out to these kind of support channels so that you're getting the maximum value. And just one last thing, before we open up to questions, I do want to say a big thank you to everyone at CanadaHelps, Jen, Lucas, Carrie, who I think is on the call watching, who have just been wonderful partners to collaborate with us on putting this together. We approached them with the idea, and you guys have been nothing but wonderful to work with. And we're really happy to be here and working with you on this webinar today, so thank you very much. And with that, I'll pass it over to Jen, who will be moderating the questions.
Thank you, Ben. Wow. We were going to gush about you at the end of the webinar, but you just had to throw that in there. It's been great working with you and Jenny over the past few weeks to deliver this very informative session to charities who I'm sure really appreciate it. So we thank you for your partnership. So yeah, we're going to pass it on to me. We're going to do questions right now. So I'm going to ask a few that have come in from registrants before the webinar, and hopefully these answers, the questions that folks are asking in the questions log, I see a lot of similar questions here. The first one is going to be, are there restrictions to the type of nonprofit that can apply for a Google Ad Grant?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to jump in with most of the answers, but Ben, if you want to answer anything, also jump in. But yeah, there are a few restrictions. I've actually included a slide in the appendix you'll see when you get this deck, but you can't be a government entity or organization. You cannot be a hospital or healthcare organization, schools, academic institutions, universities, and junior companies. I don't really fully know what that means, but those are all also excluded. It is really clear when you go through the application process, ones that can apply, ones that cannot. So hopefully that appendix slide will help clarify that, as well as the process. When you go through it, you'll see if you're not able to actually apply.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jenny. Because I saw a lot of questions on eligibility there, so hopefully that answers folks' questions. The next one I've got here is, what are dynamic ads? I'll have a directory on my site with hundreds of entries. Can I do an ad for each possible page?
Yeah, so dynamic search ads are really cool. I think Google has a ton of cool products, but I really like this one too. So dynamic search ads, how they work is you create the description for your ads, and Google actually dynamically generates the headline, the link, and the keywords for that ad. So 100% it would work if you have a ton of different pages. What you can do is you can set URL targeting. So you can say, okay, Google, I want my entire website to be captured by dynamic search ads. Here's descriptions, and Google will actually then generate the headline, the keywords, your URL links to the appropriate page on your site to direct the traffic to based on the user query. You probably wouldn't necessarily do your entire site unless you just have one goal. You might break it out into different pieces. So if it's donations, if it's volunteering events, whatever the example is, you might break those into different dynamic search ad campaigns, but definitely a really, really useful tool. I always say, so context, I'm an account manager on tourism. So my job is helping tourism partners with Google across search, video, display. So my tourism guys have done a lot of dynamic search ads, and it's really great for what I call long tail queries. So it's really hard to capture every single keyword related to your business, especially since we know 15% of searches daily are net new on Google, which is insane. So dynamic search ads allow you to capture all those keywords that might not be top of mind for you. So once you're up and running with the basics, definitely something that I recommend diving into. And I will ping in the chat the support article for that. And Jen, I don't know if it just goes to you and we can send it out to the whole group, or if it went to everyone.
It went out to everyone. Oh wait, no, it just went to me. So I will definitely put this for the entire audience to see.
Okay.
There we go. Hopefully everyone can see that in the chat module of your GoToWebinar panel. So that's in there for you. Thank you, Jenny. All right. One more question from registrants here, and then we'll jump into live audience questions. Seeing this quite a lot too, do we need to use the $10,000 in 1 month because it does take growth over time to move to the top of Google searches?
Yeah, so definitely not. And it would be impressive if you could use the first 10,000 in your first month. It does 100% take time to build up to that level. The 10,000 doesn't carry over. So pretend you spend 2,000. It's not like that 8,000 carries to the next month. It's 10,000 fresh every single month. If you don't spend anything, there is a timeline that you have to stay active. So I think you can only be inactive for 2 months. That might be wrong, but it'll say it in the rules. But you could spend $50 a month. Google's not going to penalize you. We're still going to give you that full 10K the next month.
Cool. Thank you, Jenny. All right, so jumping into questions from our live audience, seeing a ton here. I'm going to start off with an easy one. Jenny, this is for you. Can you explain what exactly a conversion point is? Maybe give a bit of a definition on what that is.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So you can set anything to be a conversion point. So you could say, okay, I want people to land on my site and spend 30 seconds. That's the conversion point. I want people to actually fill in my custom donation form and click donate. That's the conversion point. I want people to click out and watch this video. That's the conversion point. And how it works is within Google Ads, you create conversion pixels, which is basically like a tag code, whatever we want to use, that you attach to your website. So you say this conversion point is important to me, and then you create a conversion tag within Google Ads, and you actually pixel that conversion. So you can put a pixel on the custom donation form on that donate button, and when somebody clicks on it, that counts as a conversion, and your campaign can be built to optimize for that conversion. So you can say, okay, max conversions is my bid strategy. That's telling Google, I want to get as many people as possible to actually click, fire that pixel on that custom donation button, and obviously then have more and more people that are similar to that actually converting. Does that make sense, Ben? You're like,
yeah.
Right.
Jump in. A really simple way to think of a conversion is whatever action you want someone to take when they get to your website. You can, with little technical work, you can track anything on your site. So if the action you want them to take is just reading the homepage, then have they been on the homepage long enough? Do you want them to donate? Do you want them to sign up? Do you want to submit their email address? Whatever, think of whatever action you want them to take, and that's essentially what your conversion is, because you're converting them by taking that action.
Great. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Jenny. I'm going to switch gears a little bit here so that Lucas can have some airtime, because there are some questions here for you, Lucas. I've got one here. We have a sustainer circle for monthly donations. Can we incorporate this into the donation form as an option?
Certainly, certainly. So when we talk about monthly donors and having a program like that, the main thing that we want to do is make sure that when donors land on your website, they see that that's a program you're running and that they can easily make a donation to that. So have a donation form. You could create a separate donation form specifically for this campaign. Make sure it's embedded on your website. And when I go and I sign up and make that donation, I have an impact statement letting me know, hey, if I become, if I make a $25 monthly gift or a $50 monthly gift, I know exactly what my donation is doing. So create a custom donation form, put it on your website, make it a one-click spot to give, and they can sign up for your monthly donor program. So yes.
Thank you, Lucas. Going to keep it on you because Some more questions here about custom donation forms. In terms of using them, how are the receipts handled, tax receipts?
Oh, yes. So when you use a custom donation form, as soon as somebody makes a donation, CanadaHelps issues the tax receipt right away for you. Okay, that tax receipt is a CanadaHelps tax receipt at the bottom, but it's branded to your organization's logo, name, and business number. It's on there, but the bottom, the signature, it's a CanadaHelps tax receipt. So as a donor, I go on to your website, I make my donation, I'm going to get a thank you message that you've customized specifically, and then I'm going to get my tax receipt right away by email. That donation will be dispersed directly to you along with the donor information.
Thank you, Lucas. All right, let's switch back to Google, folks, here. Here's a question that's sort of maybe two parts, so hopefully both Ben and Jenny can get in on this. Loved your presentation, very informative. I have 3 questions. 1, what determines if you win the auction and your ad displays? What happens if you never win and get your ad shown? And at what point are the Google ad grant dollars spent? Is it when the ad displays in the top section or when someone clicks on the ad?
Oops, sorry, I was just coming off mute. Yeah, those are great questions. Okay, so the auction, most simplistic way to define it is bids and relevancy is what Google looks at. Relevancy, there's thousands of factors that Ben and I aren't even aware of. So as an example, Google made 237 updates last year to the relevancy score or quality score. So the main things I encourage people to look at are 1, your click-through rate. So improving your click-through rate helps with your relevancy score. 2 is your landing page experience. So everything Lucas went through about mobile optimized, site speed, that's really important in relevancy. And then my 3rd one I'm completely forgetting, but I'm sure I will come back to it in a second. But there are a ton of factors. Bidding, relevancy, the most simplistic ones to actually think about. You don't actually pay until somebody clicks on your ad. So it's a cost per click kind of auction. So if you surface, pretend you're in the number 2 slot, somebody clicks on number 1, you can still get that impression for free. So somebody saw your website, saw your advertisement, completely free. You don't pay to be there unless they actually click and land on your site. And then the second question that was in there, I wasn't fully clear on. So can you say that again, Jen? What happens when...
What happens if you don't win and get your ad shown?
Nothing. So you're just shown in the search engine results page, and if they don't click on you, you don't pay anything, you get that free impression, nothing really happens. Do you have anything to add, Ben?
No, I think that is, you know, if you're getting more advanced into how to use the system, you can start to look at keywords that you're bidding on where you're not winning, either where they're not clicking or you're not showing up at all, and then look at ways, including the recommendations that we've provided through the system to help you kind of make some changes to your campaigns or your setup to try to increase your relevance and bidding score combined, so that you do get a more prominent spot and you get more clicks. But I think a lot of this really comes back to, and a very good tie-in with everything that Lucas went through, you know, we have a lot of fancy terminology for this, but I think, Lucas, you said it very well of like, we're just trying to make it as easy as possible for the user to do what you want them to do. That's going to increase your relevance. That's going to increase things like the click-through rates. So just think about what is most easiest for the user, and good things tend to follow.
Sorry, I do have like 2 additional things I want to say. So exactly what Ben was saying with like on the keyword side optimization, that's where I think optimization score is super important. So going into that recommendations tab, making those recommended improvements, that will help you surface. So if you're not surfacing a lot, making those changes, the recommendations, should help you surface more and get clicked on within the auction. And then the keyword side, obviously, you want to keep expanding through all those other routes. But another really important thing to use is machine learning. So what I mentioned was smart bidding. When you set max conversions as your bidding strategy, Google will actually then figure out, okay, who is the best user? What should I be bidding on to actually surface in the auction and have that user click if I want them to click? So that's getting a bit more in depth, but optimizing and leveraging machine learning wherever you can are 2 really, really important things to do to surface in the auction.
Great. Thank you so much, Jenny and Ben. Just doing a quick time check here. We look like we have 4 minutes, so maybe we can squeeze in 2 more questions. So let's see here. I'm going to throw this one to Lucas, donation form best practices. How long would you recommend a donation form to be? And maybe you could talk through some options.
Sorry, like how long to have a donation form up?
How long do you recommend it to be? So like when you're creating a form where you're picking a type of form and putting it on a donation page.
Okay, yeah. How long you want the form to be?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Yeah, so that when you're using and creating a donation form, you have a couple of different styles. If you're using CanadaHelps, you have a couple of different styles to choose from. Basically, always keep in mind making it as easy as possible. Okay, so what's really, instead of like length and how long that form is, what's by far the most important thing is a donate button that goes right to an embedded donation form and it stays on that page. So I don't want to have to make multiple clicks where it's taking me to different pages to complete my donation. I want to stay on that same page and then make my donation. In terms of length, because you can add different things to the donation form, what I didn't mention before, which is good to right now, you make sure you have an option for the donor to subscribe to your communications, so a newsletter or things like that, so you can make sure to contact them. Okay, so most important thing, one click away and they're staying on the same page to complete that donation.
Great, thank you, Lucas. All right, we're gonna jump into one more question, and folks, if we didn't get to your question, I'll be sending your questions over to Ben and Jenny and to Lucas, and they'll be following up with you. So hang tight there, and thank you for submitting these. So last question, you can pick a good one here. If our donation forms have a different URL from our website, can we link it directly to those forms in the extensions? I guess in the ad extensions. So
yeah,
I think it's a Google question. Yeah.
I think in the platform, you can essentially choose whatever it's called the landing page, which is the URL where somebody goes after clicking on your ad, and that can be anything that you define it to be. And I think if your main focus is around driving donations, going right to the donation form, as long as that's clear and relevant to the keywords you're targeting and the text you put in your ad, then absolutely put your donation form.
And you can also, when I showed extensions, there's Sitelink Extensions, so you can have your main URL you're directing to, but you can also have other pages from your website that are called out within your advertisement. So fill out the extensions, the Sitelink extensions that are available in Google Ads.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I believe that is time.
Jen,
thank you. Yeah.
Jen, sorry, if you don't mind, I just want to squeeze in here for a second. Do you mind if I ask a question to Ben and Jenny here? Put them on the spot quickly. Just don't worry, nothing too crazy. Just want to ask Ben and Jenny. So at CanadaHelps, our goal is always to democratize access to online giving, so making it easy for charities to leverage technology. And obviously, because of COVID, we've been saying here that we've been thrust like 6 or 7 years into the future, having to like leverage technology. And charities are like, we're talking about like optimizing websites, and a lot of charities are starting to use like donor management systems and CRMs, and they have to navigate that. And you know, they don't have IT skills or consultants or things like that. So I know both of you mentioned like starting off at Google and not like knowing, maybe being a bit timid, and that's where a lot of like myself and some of our charity partners are kind of coming from. So is there anything you could say to our charity partners about like if they're nervous about like just getting into technology space and leveraging data, like anything you can say to like calm fears? Or I know Jenny, you mentioned like preparing for an interview and not knowing, like we're launching into this like new world, a lot of us, and like anything that can help like calm their fears.
Yeah, I'll go first, I guess, and then Jenny, if you want to add. I would say the biggest thing is just understanding that it is a process and a journey. You know, even people who work at Google, I spend a shocking amount of my time on internal trainings because we understand things change very rapidly, and it's my full-time job to be doing that, and understand for a lot of people that are on the call, they might not have that same time to dedicate, but dipping your toe in and getting started, hopefully seeing a little bit of value, and then just keep in mind that you will constantly learn. You will never know it all. Jenny and I definitely don't know it all. And so as long as you take that open-minded approach of you're going to try it and learn, and just, it's not about getting it right, it's about getting it better than you did last time. So as long as you take that continuous improvement, you know, be curious, do what you can to learn about it. There's an endless amount of resources online. Please use the kind of the volunteer resources that we put up. They're a really great way to get started, especially if you're brand new, to get kind of that hands-on support from a specialist like Jenny. Yeah, that's, I think, what I would say was just you're not seeking for perfection, you're seeking progress.
And I don't think I really have anything to add. Ben said it very well, but for context, I had no digital experience prior to coming to Google, so I had to learn everything fresh, and it was definitely a process. But the coolest thing about Google is everything is available externally. So I linked a couple e-learning courses. There are hundreds of e-learning courses. Don't need to do them all, but if you have any questions, literally type them into Google. You will find an answer. They're called Google support articles. We have answers to pretty much anything you're looking for. So don't be shy in terms of actually just Googling things. I do that a ton still in my job when I get questions from my advertisers that I don't know the answer to. So external resource is really great, and anybody can learn anything. That's what I always say.
Yeah, I would just add on those online resources, particularly the training videos, those are the same ones that we use internally. When we hire somebody to work at Google, they're going through the same training that we make available to all of you. So we don't have any internal secret sauce. It's all just as I said, it's a process. So think about the progress you can make and what new steps you can take each day or week or month.
Thank you. That was awesome. Thanks.
Great. And thank you, Lucas, for asking that question. What a great way to end off the presentation. So just want to say a big thank you to Ben and Jenny for joining us from Google today, taking your time to walk through search ads in the Google Ad Grant Program, and to my colleague Lucas for explaining custom donation forms and some best practices for folks to get their website set up. Look out for the follow-up email in your inboxes. That should be coming to you in the next few hours, so you can rewatch this webinar and get all the links mentioned in the Google slides. My name is Jen Newcomb Trinidad. Lucas, Ben, Jenny, thank you so much for being with us, and thank you to all of our registrants and attendees. We hope to see you at the next webinar, and wherever you are, take care. Stay safe.
Thanks very much.
Guys.
Thank you. Bye.